glorify your holy name. I want you just to while you're in the Spirit right now, I want you to find yourself inside of Yahweh. When I say Yahweh, I mean all of God, the fullness of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I want you to find yourself inside of Him, just breathing all of that presence into your spirit lungs. Then I want you to find yourself, and when you bring your spirit back into your soul, into your body, that you breathe that same presence into your being. So that the next breath you breathe out is the presence of Yahweh. I'm sure you guys have wondered many times why every time I take the mic after soaking, I breathe into it. That's why. I find myself stepping into Him. And when I'm inside of the fullness of Yahweh, I take a deep breath with my spirit man. And I bring my spirit man back into my body, into my soul. And then the breath I breathe out is the fullness of the presence of Yahweh that I just breathed in the spirit realm, in the kingdom of heaven. Something I want you to start doing in your day-to-day walk with Yahweh is breathe His breath into your spirit and let it come back into your soul and your body and breathe it out into the earth. Father, tonight I know that you're taking us to another level. I know that there's a shift taking place in the nation. I know that you have lifted us up as sons and daughters, and you're putting us into a new level, into a higher place than what we've been before. That our yesterday will no longer be the same as our today. As a matter of fact, our tomorrow has changed. Our tomorrow is in the fullness of your likeness. Our tomorrow is in the fullness of your image. Our tomorrow is in the fullness of your power and your gloriness. Your glory. Father, I pray that you will open our hearts tonight. Father, we bring absolute honor to you. Thank you for revelation and insight. Thank you for your fullness, your glory, your fire. We love you, Yahweh. Amen. On Friday, we were in Lafayette. We had a great time in worship, and in soaking, I found my spirit being leaving my body in a very rapid, violent way, almost scary. And I was standing on the outside of the city skirting, if I don't know how to put it, outside of the city, and I was meeting with three massive angelic beings, and I believe in my perception of the angelic canopy that they were Prince of Roaring Angels. I say Prince of Roaring Angels just simply because I heard Ian Clayton say it, talking about they are the ruling angelic over a specific city or over a specific nation or over a specific area or state or section of a country. So I believe that there was some kind of an angelic leadership that was placed. I mean, maybe a power, like in the Bible it talks about the powers and principalities and the rulers of the darkness of this age. So it's the powers, the principalities, the rulers of the darkness of this age. So in the angelic it'll be the same. There'll be powers, principalities, and then rulers. And I believe that I was engaging with angelic powers. There was three great men. They looked like men. They were angelic beings. My spirit man, obviously, just like yours, when it climbs out of my physical body, it enhances itself to whatever state of size I want to be at. So whoever I'm speaking to, or wherever I find myself, I can have my spirit be of the same size and multitude that the one I speak to. You guys okay? Am I losing you very early in the night? Okay. And so I'm busy talking to these three angelic beings, and they showed me something that needs to be dealt with immediately. And while we're talking, there was a demonic entity that literally jumped out of the spirit realm into our conversation. Now that's illegal. And as he jumped into this conversation, it was a very intense demonic entity of perversion and lust, sexual filth. I don't know exactly how to put it. It came with the city itself, Lafayette. If you go there, you'll find that it's got an excessive amount of sexual immorality. It's almost the ruling spirit within the church leadership, within the government of that city. That's just what I saw in the spirit. And this thing was the power, the main principality that was like kind of the dragon, I would say, except it wasn't quite a dragon. It looked like a being, I guess you could say, giant. And in this time of engaging with these angelic beings, this thing jumped out of the earthly realm into the spirit realm where we were. And as he came into that glory, I want you to hear that he immediately disintegrated. And that eliminated all of that power that spirit carried in that city. And in the same breath released the key into the atmosphere that activated that what the Father has for that city. Yes. And I felt in the spirit a great shift take place. And I didn't do anything. It was a mistake on the demonic side because of what he felt, the frequency that was released in the spirit realm. When a son of God engages with the angelic. As a matter of fact, when a son of God is awakened and is beginning to engage with the heavenly realm, it creates an anxiety over the demonic. Yes. So I was lying here, and the Father did a very similar thing, but I wasn't talking to 3 angels, I was talking to 7 of the same type of angelic beings, and they were just discussing what was going to happen in this city in the next couple of months. And I heard them make a statement say that they will be able, this is what they say, they will be able to hold on while he shakes the city. They will be able to hold on while he removes what needs to be removed. They said that they will be okay in this time of shaking. But he says, they're busy talking about Yahweh, he says that this time for this city is to have the fire. The fullness of the fire brought in so that those who are on fire can burn the rest that needs to be cleansed. I believe that the Father is saying in this time that there's a great awakening to the city coming spiritually. It won't be visibly seen with the eye. It will be in the leadership, in the spirit, men, sons and daughters that sees what's happening. Because I remind you that it's something we have to do. The angels can see what needs to be done, but they can't activate it. We are the sons and the daughters that needs to activate what needs to happen in our city. And if we are the legislators, then the word is given and it's activated by those who go in and take it. Because it's that taking it by force and releasing it into the earth that explodes into the reality of what was said and what needs to take place. Because we still have dominion over this earth.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Before I start with the letters tonight, I just quickly want to go over the basic of the letters and remind you that the Hebrew letters are not just ordinary letters. Okay, each letter is a symbol full of many inner meanings for literal, straightforward meaning, but also deeper spiritual meaning. And I need you to be reminded of this because I know and I can feel it in the spirit. It's very strange for us to engage with letters because we have a American Greek mindset of the words and of letters. It's just a thing that I have to create on a paper. I have to speak it with my mouth. It can't be a living creature. I can't engage with it. And so we need to shift our thinking so that we can begin to understand that it is living creatures that is created by Yahweh for us to engage, so that the fullness of the meaning of our words can bring life to the fullness and the understanding and revelation that He wants to give you as a son of who He is and who you are in Him.
Yes.
It's understanding the letter, that the letters provide essential insight into deeper meaning of the Bible. After studying the letters and in depth, it's not unusual for many people to feel that the letters express some direct spiritual communication and goes beyond words. That's just the reality of it. Okay, we've done this already, so I'm just going over it, so I want you to be refreshed when I start with the new letters. We hopefully do 3 letters tonight, but I have an idea, a feeling back in my subconscious somewhere that we're just going to be doing 2.
Yes, go to
Meditation on these letters is commonly practiced to encourage this type of rapport with the letters. The idea is to get to know them. Now, I've said this before, and I don't need you, I don't want to lose you. Nothing I engage with in the spirit realm, and I want to say this very clearly. The earth has a spirit dimension to it. It has 2 spirit dimensions to it. One is the kingdom of heaven that's at hand, which I can go from one to another. I can shift from the natural into the supernatural. But there's a demonic realm that if you in the spirit walk to and fro without the leading of the spirit, you will be seeing demons. You will be walking in that demonic realm. That's what we do as the church. That's why when we come back into the natural, we bring open doors for demonic entities to come into this realm. We open up that door by going into the wrong realm. That's why we pray wrong. We say, Lord, I want to see in the Spirit. I want to live in the Spirit. But we don't make it clear. Because let me tell you something. It's not only God that will answer that prayer. Because your desire runs what you so desperately want. And if you ask out of ignorance, you get the ignorance of what you ask for. That's why you have to step into fullness of wisdom and understand that my engagement with the Spirit is always into the heart of God, into Yahweh, into the fullness of that realm. Because I'm in Christ, and stepping into Christ, being clothed in Him, I go in where He is. That's why I'm seated with Him in heavenly places. I'm not seated anywhere else. I'm seated in Him. In Him, He's what I put on.
Yes.
If you put anything else on, you will get what you put on. And that could be happening out of ignorance because of what we were taught up to this point. Not that anybody made a mistake, because you can only give what you have.
That's right.
So I'm not blaming anybody, I just need you to have that understanding, right? Looking into deeper meanings of the letters can transform and deepen our learning and can lead us to a deeper level of spiritual experience. I want to remind you that's the Father's desire and heartbeat for you. It's a deeper level of spiritual experience.
Yes.
Okay, you guys excited?
Yes. Glory. Hallelujah.
We've done quite a couple of letters already. I think we're going a little bit slower than what I thought we would be going, but I do also think that if you understand what I'm teaching, and what I've seen in the Spirit is that while I'm busy teaching, many lights are going on in the room.
Yes.
Because in essence, if you think about it, from Aleph to where we are today, it's almost a recap of everything we've done from the beginning of Spirit School.
Yes.
It's like the letters is bringing us to a recap, and almost that's where the light goes on, because I have an understanding of the Word.
Yes.
So once I have an understanding of the Word, everything that's been said makes sense.
Yes.
It sounds so simple and so logic, isn't it? So last week I believe we did the noon, and there's Shamek. We were supposed to do a lot more, but we stopped there. Not because of any other thing, but time. I don't know if you've noticed, but time started to fly. Don't know who gave it permission, but I like it. It's much easier to do this when what I do feels like 5 minutes than when I'm teaching and it feels like 3 hours. And it's only been 5 minutes. And vice versa for you too, right? It's like, how long has this guy been teaching? It feels like hours. He's just been busy for 5 minutes. Okay, but yeah. Ayun. 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 It's the rounding of the last party. Ayun. Okay, you want to say that? I might be pronouncing it wrong. But that's just, I feel that it needs to in. Okay, the Hebrew letter ayin means I. And correspondingly, the ayin has to do with vision and bringing forth lights that are hidden. I need you to quickly remind yourself that anything that's hidden needs to be exposed. And that includes revelation. It includes all of Yahweh. Because He hides it from His sons and daughters so that we can engage Him at different levels. Do we understand that understanding? Because I can engage Him at one level, but you engage Him at a higher level, you will receive more than what I do.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
That's just kind of logic. And His desire for us is to begin to understand what it means to engage with the light.
Yes.
Because engaging with the light is it's taking yourself back into time when you were in Eden, in Adam. Because Adam was clothed in light. Because he was glorified. Right? That's why when he ate of the fruit he was naked. Because the light, the covering was removed. We know this stuff, right? So when I start engaging the light through Christ, I receive the fullness, and then I can step into the light. Stepping into the light enhances the spirit dimension that I live in to such a place and understanding that I live in a realm where there's no time and space. Living in that realm enables me to change my today, my yesterday, and my tomorrow. Because the ability I have in the Spirit is to realign all of my life with what it's supposed to be according to my scroll. So, when I engage the ayun, that has to do with vision and bringing forth the lights that are hidden, it gives me the ability to see that which is not there. Which means it enhances my faith. Because everything that's seen, even though it's hidden, is there. It's like that very stupid saying, wherever you are, there you'll be. You don't get it more logic than that, but we kind of forget about that sometimes. And that's very much the same as how God works. The great idea would be for Him to heal you of cancer like this. But He can only meet you where you're at. So if where you at is while you have to go for chemo and go on medication, then that's where He's going to meet you. He'll still do the same miracle, but He cannot meet you where you're not at. Because if He meets you where you're not, then you're not going to be there. And you're not going to receive what He wants to give you. That's why the training is always, well, if you can't trust Him for $10, how can you be praying for 100,000? If you can't get healed of cancer, it's because you could never trust Him for healing an ingrown toenail and fever in your son or in yourself. Now, I'm not putting any condemnation on anybody, but the idea is that we progressively grow in every step and every dimension. And engaging with these letters open up these heavenly doors of revelation and insight. Because I remind you that the time of operating in the gifts is slowly passing by. It doesn't mean that they won't be there anymore. It just means that anyone and everybody can access them. And the true sons and daughters of Yahweh are not going to access the gifts. Because my example is not Holy Spirit, although I'm filled and consumed with Holy Spirit, and of course I'm led by Holy Spirit. But my example is Yeshua. My example is my spirit on the outside of my soul and my body. My example is walking in the fullness of the Spirit.
Yes.
Not in the gifts of the Spirit. Ayun teaches us to see beyond and relate to time. It teaches us to see beyond and relates to time. Now I need you to understand that the idea of ayun is that I see that which is not there.
Yes. Faith.
Now you say, well, what do you mean I see that which is not there? If it's not there, then it's not there. But I remind you that all of these letters are in some way or another connected, because The ayun has a similar letter than the aleph, and it literally has the ability to create. So the engagement of this letter brings a revelation of bringing what's not there into this realm, so it is there. It's the same as faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So it is the reality and the belief that I can bring that which is not here into place. Because let's focus. If someone's dead, there's no life. And raising them from the dead is bringing something back that wasn't there. Same with healing cancer. Same with the blind eye, being able to see. It's the ability to bring what's not there into this realm so that you can physically see it. It is the aspect of the visionary, to see not just what is happening in front of us, but to envision beyond that, to know one's direction 5, 10, 100 years ahead and beyond. Which means it opens up sight to your tomorrow. Amen. Now I want to remind you very quickly, like all the saints of old, they didn't disappear. Part of their destiny is still today.
That's right.
Matter of fact, if you read Enoch's destiny scroll, it continues into our today. Because on his destiny scroll, he's still fulfilling some of the things that he has to do. In this day, thousands and thousands of years later. So when I say looking into 5, 10, 100, 150, 200, beyond time, because the idea is that I know beyond the shadow of doubt who I am. Because if I know who I am over there, I'll walk in that confidence over here.
Yes.
How many of you understand? If I am born and the President of the United States comes to me and with written papers from the courts gives me a paper stating that by the age of 40 I will become the new American president at this date and this time, I will live a different life with the knowledge of who I am going to be at a specific time in my life. Because there'll be a different confidence. And so the idea of engaging with the Yahin is the idea that I can go in and see beyond, because there's a vision, there's an opening of my spirit eyes that entitles me to see beyond just what I can perceive.
Yes.
Because what I can perceive is not even 5 seconds from now. I can't perceive it because we don't live in our tomorrow, we live in our right now and yesterday. But when I start engaging the fact that there's an ability in the spirit that I can see beyond my today and tomorrow, that I can go beyond in the spirit and see all things and know all things. As a matter of fact, sometimes it freaks me out a little bit, but I can come into a meeting and the Lord will start showing me the full destiny on a scroll of some people in the room.
Yes.
No, it's none of my business, and I mean I like to engage and I like to see what the Father shows, and sometimes if I feel necessary, then I might prophesy or speak over that person in a time after the meeting, and sometimes even in the meeting, but it just depends. It's not always necessary for me to reveal everything I see, because in the same breath, I don't want to take anything away from you, because you have to engage. You have to find. See, the time of running after prophets is over.
That's right.
The time of running after a word from someone is over. The Father desires His sons and daughters to engage Him and find out what He has for you yourself. And engaging with the Yahin is opening my spiritual eyes to such a realm that I can see beyond my today, beyond my tomorrow, and look into a time that is beyond anything I can perceive. For example, I want to tell this story. It's not really part of my notes yet, so let me just wait a couple of seconds.
Come on, we pull it out.
The pronunciation, I don't want to go there, that's fine. Yahin is included in a great number of words associated with time. Hours, future, past, moment, until, eternity, and vision. Now this is what I wanted to say. When an old man, like my dad, for example, he loved working in the garden. I mean, he could start in the morning and just do the most ridiculous, most amazing things. And by the end of the day, I would just, for the fun of it, go walk through the garden and see what he did. And I would usually be blown away. He's just always busy working. It was amazing. But a lot of the things he did in the garden, he could never see the fruits of it. For example, he would plant a lot of fruit trees that will only be fully matured in 10 or 15 years. He died when he was 73 or 70. So he never got to see those things. And I need you to understand what I'm trying to say. That is what we need to do for the next generation. What we do today is to affect the next generation, because we might not be able to comprehend all the revelation that's poured in. We might not be able to change and shift our perception of it, but our responsibility is to look at the vision that's given to us regarding those beyond us, those before or after us, because we have to leave them something they can enhance and engage with to walk in the fullness of what we couldn't. Because if I've only had 5 years of it, imagine my son, by the time he's my age, he has had 40 years of it. Imagine a son of the Most High that has walked in this revelation and it's all he knows for 40 years. Let me just explain to you, because the pathway's already been walked by men like Ian Clayton and Justin Abraham and Nancy Cohen and Grant Mahoney and his wife Samantha. The pathway's already been paved. So for us, we just walk it. We don't have to go through trying to find semantics for it, trying to find perception of what's being seen. And yes, there's new things that comes in Revelation. And yes, it's difficult to find an understanding and a wording for the things we see. But for that which is already paved, we can just walk in it.
Yes.
And so it becomes my responsibility to do the exact same thing for the next generation. To leave a pathway in the Spirit open for those that comes after us to walk in the fullness of it. So that if I get born again, I'm born again into this revelation. And by the time I'm walking with Yahweh for 10 years, I am going from one nation to another in transportation. Being translated from one city to another.
Yes, thank you.
It teaches us to understand the cause and effect in our lives, how past actions leads to future outcome, and how to think for the future. And I'm not talking to have a death policy or a pension. It's spiritual.
Yes.
What are you leaving behind? What is your vision in the Spirit? What are you seeing? Yin implores us to open our eyes, to see beyond the physical. The yin is meant to take us from dark to light. See, the idea is this: if I close my eyes, well, not anymore, but in the beginning, when I closed my eyes, all I saw was darkness. Right? It's just dark. When I close my eyes now, it's just light, no matter where I am. Because there's been a switch in my sight. No longer see like I used to, because my spirit man is in charge. So I see through my spirit eyes.
Yes.
So I can look at my natural eyes, but I can look through my natural eyes, through my spirit, and see something completely different. But when I do choose to go into a different side by closing my eyes, so there's meant to be darkness, which was never really meant to be as such, but because I'm born from light into darkness, how many of you know and understand that? From the mother's womb, from your destiny scroll into your mother's womb is light.
Right.
Although it might feel like the darkest place on the planet, it's not. Because when I come into the light, which is actually the darkness, where sin is corrupted the earth, I'm born into darkness. So from that moment, unless I am continually trained and equipped by a spiritual mentor, I will lose my actual sight. And it will become darkness only. That's what happened to most of us. But when you get born again, you begin to see, the idea is that your darkness is no longer dark, but it's light. Matter of fact, the spirit sight becomes so clear that I can close my eyes and still see 360. No, I tried that while I'm driving. It's not a good idea. I try it in the mornings when I walk. That works a little bit better. See, the idea of my spirit man being enhanced to such an extent that I am fully spirit with a soul and body will get you to the place where you can walk in your spirit being with your eyes closed and physically be able to see. I know that is something that we can't even begin to perceive, but I need you to begin to understand the engagement of these letters is to bring revelation of vision. The idea is to open your eyes, to open not just your physical eyes but your natural eyes, to take you from a place of darkness into a place of light, to get you to the place where you understand your spirit man has the ability to shift and change things physically. I told you about the testimony about this young man that was driving with his friends in a car, and the lady driving said, listen guys, we are far away from a gas station and we have a problem. The light's been on for 50 miles. So within the next hour, and it's much further than that, to the next gas station, we're going to run out of gas. You guys need to start praying. It just came from a conference where they were talking about the spirit man being able to move to and fro and doing all kinds of things. So he took his spirit man to the gas station. Take his credit card and use it to pay for $10 worth of gas. Walked back in the spirit, poured the gas into the car, went back, did another transaction in the spirit while sitting in the car, did the same thing twice, so it's 8 gallons, and the lady said, don't know what happened guys, but the gas just went up half a tank. Yeah. Then he made a statement to them and said, listen, this is what I just did. And everybody went, yeah, sure, pal.
We did that.
And the Wednesday, he got his credit card invoice stating 2 transactions, 2 hours away from where he was, $10 each. Now how we perceive that yet, I don't know, because I can't perceive it as of yet, but it's a testimony. And how many of you understand testimony means replicate? So once it's testified about, it can be replicated. So the idea is to get my spirit to such a place that I am more spirit than anything else. Because at the moment, we are 1% spirit, 99% physical. But the idea is to be 99% spirit and 1% physical. It urges us to break through the walls of limitations in order to see what is not yet visible to us. How many of you understand that we can't see everything at once? Because if we do, you'll have a little heart attack and die. Right? Or maybe it's just me. But there's so much stuff, and I've noticed over the last 5 years, as my sight has increased, and I've begun to see more, and it can bring you to a very anxious place, all the things that is visible to you.
That's right. Yes.
And if everything was revealed to me at once, I probably wouldn't have ran away. And of course, in the same breath, I don't even think it's possible to see everything at once and then perceive it. Because I can see everything, but I can't perceive all the things I'm seeing. Because I remind you, in the kingdom that the Father wants us to live in, there's no demonic presence. If you're seeing demonic spirits in the earth, you need to change your focus.
That's right.
You're engaging the wrong realm.
That's right.
Now, I understand in the same breath that there is such a thing as spiritual warfare, and a lot of intercessors believe that I have to be able to see demons. Yeah. But I remind you that there's protocol to follow.
That's right.
Because I have done it in all kinds of ways, but since I started doing it according to protocol, I do not see demonic entities unless I'm either engaging with a heavenly being, either where Yeshua is involved, or out of the kingdom realm, going from the 7 spirits into a court of war, from the angelic court into the earth, dealing with it through an angelic canopy.
Yes.
I'm not engaging the demonic to do something on my own behalf. That's what you call looking for caca.
That's right. I know what caca is.
I can say that in English, but that'll just work out poo-poo. I see some of your number plates says kak. In Afrikaans, that's a really nasty word. So sorry, Afrikaners. It's not really that bad, it just means poop, but the S word in Afrikaans. Which is still not that great, but whatever. It's on your number plate. And I'm Afrikaans. I see it all the time. I wanted to take a photo, put it on Facebook the other day, but I thought, might not be as tasteful as what I think it is. The Americans won't understand. My Afrikaans friends will go, "Don't put that on Facebook, Pastor." I'm still a pastor in South Africa, right? Okay. So the idea of the Ayin is to urge us to break through the walls of limitations in order to see what is not yet visible. I love this letter because it takes me to the future. Yeah. Now, I've shared this with you before. I was on the mountain of the Lord, on the golden mountain. I was given a key, and this key was a key to timelines, future timelines. Now, because we have through the blood the ability to go into the past with our timeline and deal with it in the mobile court, and from there come back into our today and have eliminated the things that weren't supposed to be on our scroll, but because of disobedience and obviously sin, it got there and it affected us, but it's been dealt with legally. So by the time I come back into my today after dealing with my yesterday, I can be healed and take my today into my tomorrow. But the idea eventually through engaging these letters is to go into your tomorrow, to have a different attitude in your today.
Yes. Woo! Woo! Take that.
How are you guys doing? So now I'm hoping that we finish with the next letter. The next letter is number 17, and it's Pe. Pe? Pe. Pe. Probably not pronounced right, so don't stone me, but it's P-E-H. So I can't think of any other pronunciation but Pe.
What number is the letter?
It's 17. I love this letter because it always reminds me of James. Not James Bond, but of the brother of Yeshua. The Hebrew letter Pe means mouth and refers to the power of speech. Speech is actually considered to be a spiritual power, which can cause good and evil depending on how it's used. Now we obviously know this because this is one of the most favorite things to talk about, being positive. Whatever you believe, you receive. If you doubt, you go without. Right? We've held on all these motivational messages we've heard over the years, and yes, it made us feel great. But the reality at the end of the day is what comes out of your mouth is what shapes your thoughts, and what your thoughts are shaped of is the way you think. And as a man thinks in his heart, because let me tell you something, what I think within my brain will shape what I think within my heart.
That's right.
Because I can't consistently act in a way that's inconsistent to me. That's why the Holy Spirit has to change my mindset and shift me into a place where I have the mind of Christ. Because my mind stinks.
That's right. Yes.
The way I think stinks. The way my spirit thinks is a whole different ball game. But I remind you, there's always war between the two. Yes. My spirit wants to think one way, and my brain wants to think another way. And so what I think, I eventually say. That's why we talk so much caca. I'll hear the end of it if I'm not allowed to say that. But it just sounds so good. You know, I always say, if the word is in the dictionary, then it can't be that bad.
No wrestling.
And of course, it's a lot the same as saying shutty uppy. So instead of saying only it once, I say it twice, so it makes it a little bit soft on the tongue. And I add an extra A, so it's ka-ka. So it's not even the same word. So don't look at me with that tone.
The kids have been around you too much this week. Thanksgiving.
Okay, so it actually considers to be a spiritual power, and I need you to understand that, because the idea behind engaging with this letter is that I also in the same breath begin to change the way I speak. But I also remind you that it's the same thing. I can't consistently act in a way that's inconsistent to me. So I can't today want to start talking differently, and then tomorrow just go on my same old. So the idea is to create a shift in my spirit, because this is spiritual. So I create a shift in my spirit by stepping into Christ. And the idea is to continuously, consistently step into Him.
Yes.
Because if I'm continuously stepping into Him, I will change the way I think. Because every time I step into Him and we're in the kingdom of heaven, He takes me, presents me as a living sacrifice to the Father, where I begin to present myself in that time to the Father, where He gets to clean me up.
Yes.
So by the time I'm done there 3-4 times a day, my thinking changes and I no longer think like an idiot.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, for all of us. For me.
You know, because of what we were taught, we have been shaped to believe certain things. And to get what we were taught out of our system, it's a process. For how many years it was taught that a preacher or someone in ministry has to be poor. So it subconsciously became part of what we believe.
Right. That's
And
right.
so whether you have a poverty mentality or not, that's subconsciously in the back of your head, and that's what you think. And what you think, you become.
That's right.
You know, I have a mentality in myself that God will always supply my needs.
Yes.
That's what I think, that's what I believe. How many of you understand He wants to go behind your needs? But I got so excited this week, someone blessed us with some money, and it was a good amount, and I said, thank you, Yeshua, that's awesome. And before I knew it, it was just to cover the needs. It was all gone. And I'm thinking, thank you for it. But there has to be more, and it's a mentality, a think pattern that has to change.
Yes. Good word.
Because He's not just to supply my needs. He says, hello, idiot, you're talking to me, I will supply the birds in the air with clothes beyond what they can fathom. I will give the animals in the field whatever they need. How much more will I supply your need? That's not meant to be your focus, because I go beyond that with you. Because you're in my image, and I own the cattle on 1,000 hills.
Yeah. That's right.
So it's a mentality shift.
Yes.
So what do you think? Not so much what you say, because eventually what you think you'll say. But I don't have to say something for it to be said. Because I remind you, the Father doesn't speak to me. He doesn't speak to me in a voice.
That's right.
I don't speak to Him in a voice. We've been taught wrong.
That's right.
I'm not saying He can't, but He doesn't. He can, but He doesn't. He's in me and I'm in Him. So I don't speak to my hand and tell it what to do for me. It just knows. So I have a thought way. I don't have to say what I'm thinking, but I act out what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Because what I think can go into my heart and contaminate it. And the other way around. What's in my heart can go into my brain and contaminate it. That's how it's supposed to be. Because I'm supposed to shift. That's repentance. Shift the way I think. From my brain, my soul, to my spirit, right? It is a certain way that one thinks. What one thinks is how one is. And what one speaks has the power to become. Violent words lead to violent actions. And I remember this because we used to listen to extreme heavy metal. You guys know what that is? It's not something you pick up. I do that in the gym. It's not the same. Heavy metal, it's a music type. And of course you get heavy metal Christian music. Because it's in the works. It's in the spirit behind the music. But if I had to listen to Megadeth, Sepultura, if you listen to these music, and when I was younger I loved this music. This was my jam. Right? But in the same breath, it was extremely violent. I was protected all my life because I could never hear the music. No one could. In his right mind, you cannot understand what they say. It's actually saying something. No one actually knows what it is. But in the same breath, I have friends, even my wife, that can hear exactly what's being said and repeat it. I could never do that. So it never affected me as much as it would have affected my wife Claire, and as much as what it affected some of my friends. But the idea behind the music is aggression and violence. I mean, in their concerts, they're breaking. I remember this one concert we went to, this guy was headbanging with a chainsaw in his hand. His hair got caught in the chainsaw and ripped a whole piece of his head, skull, hair, brain, I don't know, whatever else came out there, but it was out there. I would have freaked out, but he just went on. And blood poured out of his face, and it was just terrible. And everybody was going, yeah, and they were enjoying it, and they was smashing their guitars on the floor. And I don't understand, and then of course you've got the mosh pit, which it just creates violence.
Right.
And then of course in the same breath, you have the sexual music, techno or rave, or the boom boom, kaka, we also listen to. That just leads to sexual intercourse. Because it's what's in the music. It's what's being said. It's what's going in that comes out. And of course the idea is to change that to what Yahweh says and what Yahweh thinks, because my duty as a son of the Most High is to legislate His will into the earth. To bring what I hear, what I see my Father do. Because what I see in my visual will change the way I think. When I change the way I think, I change the way I speak. It's like I'm talking to deaf people.
We're soaking it in. We're getting it.
Are you guys getting the stuff?
We're focused.
The quality of the speech is considered to be the quality of the life's essence and creative existence. So I have the ability as a spirit-filled, born-again son of the Most High to create what I speak.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I need you to understand there's obviously levels of what I just said. Because I can say, I want $1,000 right now.
Manifest.
And I can be very angry because it didn't happen. But what if there's a day that I do say that? Because I heard a testimony the other day of a gentleman that came to South Africa and he was busy preaching, and while he was preaching he said to people, take out your cell phones and go into your bank account. And then he prayed over those accounts, and immediately some accounts went up 7,000 rand. Immediately. My spiritual father told me a testimony where they would pray for people, lay hands on their pockets, and their pockets will swell up with money in it.
Yes.
That Justin Abraham shares a testimony where the Lord told him to give a certain amount.
Yes.
And as he counted his money out, he didn't have enough. And he's like, and as he has his hand out, the rest of the money appears in his hand. So there's a level of what we perceive, because there has to be faith for what we want to see. That's why the Lord goes as far as to say anything you do outside of faith is sin.
Ooh, Jesus.
Because I have to begin to understand that what I speak creates what's not there. That's the ability that I have in the engagement of the pen. Engaging that letter, what it enhances, the revelation it brings. It wants to get me to that place that whatever I speak takes place, because my mind has been shifted, my way of thinking has been shifted, and the dimension of what I believe, because of what I can see, is to such an extent that I can just take what I see in that realm and place it into this realm. And let me tell you something, what I see when I walk into the financial chambers in the spirit realm is behind what I can financially or mentally ever perceive, lest the Father changes my perception of my soul. Because my name has an amount on, and it blows me away every time I see it, because I can't perceive bringing that amount into my today. Maybe it's because I'll still buy a Lamborghini. And I really don't think that the Father is going to bring riches for His sons and daughters to buy sports cars. Right? I mean, I don't mind a big house, but a preacher in a sports car? I don't know. You're looking for trouble, bro.
That's right.
I'm just joking. I mean, of course it doesn't matter. I know one of our preachers in South Africa was blessed with a 9 million South African rand house. That's a $900,000 house by Americans. He was given a brand new Harley Davidson. So there's so much God can do, but it's in the hearts of man.
Yes.
It's in what I can receive without changing who I am, as the Father has already placed His character in me.
Yes.
Because there's a great wealth that comes to the nation of the world. There's great wealth waiting to rest upon the sons of the Most High, but we are not ready for it. We can still not perceive the stuff because we have a mentality, a way of thinking, and what you think you get. So what we have to do is think differently. That's why we have to study the Word, meditate on it in the Spirit. That's why the idea of what He did on the cross through His blood, the veil has been torn. We must live in that realm so we can see differently. I mean, Yeshua, on His throne, there's more than $1 trillion. Just on His throne, if I have to bring what I see on His throne back into the earth, it'll blow most of the country out of the water. I mean, $16 trillion, it's probably more by now, but that can't even be placed. That amount of money cannot even be placed on a football field. Matter of fact, as far as I know, they say that Americans dead on a rugby field and a football field at $100 notes will go up 10 stories high.
That's ridiculous.
$16 trillion. And the Father's desire for us is to change the way I think.
Yes.
Are you guys okay?
Yes.
The pair teaches us to view our words as precious as gold, not to spill. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So don't just say things because you can. Remind yourself the power that you operate with. Because I'm not just a mere human. I'm a new creation.
Yes.
The old has passed away. That's what I used to be, and that includes Trump. That includes every other non-believer on the planet.
Yes. He's born again.
It's not the same as what I am. It's not the same as what I am meant to become. And I have to walk in that fullness and remind myself that what I have is supernatural. When I speak, not because I'm born again, but because I'm a son. It's different.
Yes.
Because I remember when I was born again, I talked a lot of poop.
That's right.
Caca. Lots of it. Because I didn't have wisdom. I didn't have understanding. And I couldn't bring what I saw into the natural. But as I grew as a son, as I began to mature, what I become was something different than what I was. Yes, I might be born again and have a three-strand DNA, but I am not a son in the house. I haven't walked with the seven spirits yet. And the idea is that the Father gets us so mature, so full of Him, that everything we see in our spirit, we bring and relate into the earth. There's a power in who we are. That's why what we say makes so much sense. I can't just speak because I want to. As a matter of fact, if you know me, I can talk a lot. But it's mostly because I have the mic in my hand. Matter of fact, I've calculated Google. And Google says that if you speak non-stop for an hour, you speak about 8,000 words. Now I know that I speak at a much faster pace than most people, so I've added about 2,000 words to my hour of speech. So it's 10,000 words at a time that I'm accountable for every time I teach you.
Yes.
Because what comes out of my mouth shapes.
Yes. That's right.
And it either gives life or death.
Yes.
So whatever comes out of your mouth, you are held responsible for.
Right.
And most of the time I have no idea what I'm saying, so I have to go back and listen to make sure, hey, what am I accountable for? Because what you are accountable for gives you a responsibility, and it adds to your dimension of authority.
Yes.
So it doesn't sound like a lot of fun, when you're a CEO of a company or a pastor of a church that has 500,000 people in it, but at the end of the month when you receive your salary, you are reminded of what responsibility you have. Because your responsibility allocated the authority and gives you something greater than what the one next to you have that doesn't earn or have the same stature as you in that dimension. Doesn't mean that we're not equal. Don't look at me with that tone. But there's just logic. A teacher and a student's not the same. There's certain things a teacher cannot say to a student, and vice versa. A son and a daughter, a son and a mother or father is not the same. We are all great valued, but I have greater authority than what he does. So I have a different position than what he's at. So what I say has a greater effect. You know, if my little boy mistranslate the word monster truck, and it sounds like mother, and I'm in a plane, and I'm saying, no, you say monster truck. A monster truck, when he's 2 years old, no one cares. Because they know, okay, it's just a little baby. He's got no accountability for what he's saying. It was the wrong way of saying it. But if I sit in a plane and I say that word, then it's different. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say here? So when I'm a mature Christian, I have a greater responsibility to speak responsibly, because out of what I say, I create, and what I create, I'm responsible for. And the amount of responsibility I have as a son of the Most High, that's the amount of authority the Father wants to give me. And my authority determines what I shift. Am I losing you guys? I know when I'm losing you guys. It's an uncomfortable shift that takes place.
We got you.
The shape of the pear is a calf with a yacht inside of it. This represents the spiritual spark of the soul, or contained inside the physical body. With words and silence, we can communicate the essence of our soul and existence. So I need you to understand what it's saying. It is about the soul and the body. Because I need to understand the spirit, when you get born again, starts changing immediately. The soul can still continue to skedaddle. Okay, it depends on what you get taught. Depends on what environment you're in. So the soul and the body can still be affected by what's being said. But once my spirit is in line with the Father and my soul is turned into such a dimension after walking with the Holy Spirit, I begin to pour into my spirit, into my soul, what my spirit's been doing. That changes everything. It affects my body as well. This requires that the inner and the outer match. The inner and the outer life matches. The physical existence is fully aligned, manifesting the spiritual intention of the soul within it. Am I losing you guys? It's about the alignment of the soul and the body to the spirit. Now my soul and my body gets aligned through engaging with Holy Spirit. My spirit gets aligned with engaging with Yeshua, because I'm in Him, I'm clothed in Him. He's seated at the right hand of the Father in heavenly places, where I am seated in Him. So that engagement equals this engagement, equals the fullness of what the Father has ordained for me as a son of the Most High. The change that needs to take place for me to walk in the fullness of who I'm ordained to be. And of course, this is all about what I speak. What I speak is what I'm teach, what I'm trained, equals what I'm going to say. The power of the pear is a double-edged sword. As it says in Proverbs, life and death is in the hands of the tongue. And I remind you, the double-edged sword is represented by the Word, which is Yeshua. It's the living, it's the written, and it's the spoken. It's that three dimensions of the word that includes the living letters. And the engagement of the pair brings the revelation of what is the sword really all about. Because of this, the pair represents the requirement to govern one's own nature. You are the manager of your life.
Yes.
You're not the CEO, but you're the manager. He's not going to do it for you. As a matter of fact, anything that happens in your body, you will be accountable for. That's why you cannot just eat whatever you want to.
Right.
And then say, well, I trust God for my healing. I trust God will give me what I need because God is my healer. Well, stop eating all that rubbish and God will be able to prolong your life to your full destiny instead of you dying halfway past or through it.
Amen.
Now please also in the same breath remind yourself that everybody that dies at a young age doesn't mean that they are in sin.
Right.
Now what is a young age? Yeah, Noah died at a young age. 950. Routine speech to manipulate, all the distortions of speech must give way to viewing speech as a miracle, as gold too precious to be spilled. So there has to be a shift. There can be no negative words coming out of your mouth. And it's stupid things we say. Oh, that time of the year, I always get sick. And then we'll pray for healing when you get sick, and God's going,
What?
really? You just said that you were going to get sick, so I just, well, okay, fine. Whatever you believe, you receive. There's certain things we say because we're conditioned to say it. That needs to change because you forget the power that you operate with. You know, they've made so many tests. For example, there will be 10 people in one room, 10 people in another room. They have a new drug that they're testing. And to the one group they say, this is the actual drug, but in the meantime it's just the vitamin C.
Right.
And they'll tell the people that this is the new drug, and the other people they'll say, this is just the vitamin C, won't do anything for you, but we're just doing a test. And the people that took the vitamin C will say, yes, the stuff worked, it's amazing. And the people that took the actual tablet will say, no, it didn't do anything. Because of what you believe. Then speech can be used for its true purpose, to speak one's destiny and to activate a spirit through the thoughts and the speech.
Amen.
So engaging with prayer, the idea behind it is to enhance that which the Father wants you to meditate on. Because what I meditate on, I become. Because what I meditate on is my focus. What my focus is what I see. What I see, what I behold is what I become. So what I hook my eye into is what I become.
That's right.
Let's stand. So we only got 2 letters done.
Go for another.
No, that's good. That's so good.
So we need to be reminded constantly that there is so much in these awesome letters. And again, I remind you, and I have to say this because I can just feel in our perception sometimes we just want to, well, I can't because what if I give it glory? You cannot, and I want to remind you, God can and will not allow anything or anybody to take from Him.
That's right.
Lest it's in His image and likeness. Because then and still we can't take from Him, but He gives us all that we need. Matter of fact, the idea behind the Father is that He gives us everything and more. Matter of fact, the marriage covenant that He has for us, or in mind towards us, is that everything that's His is mine. But in the same breath, He wants everything that's yours to be His. So in this time of engaging with the living letters of the Hebrew, find yourself worshiping the Father, engaging with His spirits, even with the seven spirits, even with the angels, and you'll find that they will only take you deeper into revelation of who He is and who you are in Him. Because that's the purpose of all these creatures in the heavens, is to enhance your walk with Yahweh, to take you deeper. So Father, right now in the name of Yeshua, I want to bring every one of your sons, every one of your daughters before your throne. And Father, as the living word is running rampantly in the heavens, Lord, I pray that we'll begin to recognize them. I pray we'll begin to see them. We'll begin to engage the meaning, the understanding, and the perception of every one of these letters, and they will bring life to us and the fullness of life. We will begin to understand your word. We'll begin to walk in the fullness of your word. We'll begin to understand what it means to have your word living inside of us. That it's a spiritual dimension that opens up, and every one of these 22 letters go in and starts creating revelation and insight and knowledge inside of me of who you are, Lord. So I can become that which you have destined and called me to be. Lord, I pray that this time and season you will bring your sons and daughters to a place of fullness, that we will stand in you with a pure mind, that the things we think we will create, and we will remind ourselves that what we think and what we say has to be aligned with your perfect will for this time and season in the earth. I pray for a blessing of every son and daughter, Lord, every seed sown tonight, for it to be multiplied, every dimension of trading that was done, for it to literally grab hold of everyone in this room and begin to bring great revelation and understanding and knowledge. As your sons and daughters are trading into revelation, I pray that you will pour into them everything they need. This is a great time to be alive, Father, and I pray that you will open us up to begin to bind the things in the heavens to us so we can bring it into the earth and legislate that which needs to be done. We love you, we love your angels, we love what you've done for us, you love everything you created for us to engage with. We just ask, Father, that you will keep us in line with you, with your word, and the fullness of what you have. Father, we love you, we praise you, we thank you. We thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the blood, thank you for us being able to go behind the veil, standing in you, around you, and surrounded by you. You are an awesome God, and we love you. In the name of Yeshua. Amen.